We are catching up with Harebrained Schemes here at E3 2016 inside of the Microsoft booth with Necropolis, a game that's not that long ago that it was announced for console, but here you are at E3 showing off the console version. First of all, for those who are unfamiliar with the game, how would you describe it in sort of an elevator pitch? Or
Okay, the elevator pitch is real simple. What if Dark Souls and Spelunky had a baby, and then that baby tried to kill you over and over again? We're going to have Dark Souls combat. It's going to be 3D combat, action combat with a lot of timing. You need to watch your enemy, make sure that they're not attacking when you attack. Look for opportunities to heal, back off, block their attacks, and dodge. At the same time, the game is permadeath, so if you do die, that is it for that character. So you go all the way back to the beginning. You're on level 8, you die, you go all the way back to the beginning, you lose everything. And the dungeon relays itself out in a completely new layout every single time.
I thought I'd start at the title. Necropolis sounds like a city of the dead or something like that. What's the significance of the title?
So the Necropolis itself is like a pyramid-shaped homage to Abraxas, who's the almost all-powerful wizard of all time. So he built it to essentially show how awesome he was. So he put his conquests in there, his treasures, his monsters, and everything that he could think of in there. And essentially, it runs off the souls of dead adventurers. So all the adventurers come here for the loot, and of course they have to die. So it's basically built to murder them.
Sort of like E3 then, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of that, it's kind of fascinating because this is the kind of game that you really want to sit down and you want to take your time, you want to learn the mechanics, you want to sort of immerse yourself, but kind of that E3 is not like that at all times. So people come here and they may know nothing about the game, yet they're being thrown in there. How do you put together a meaningful demo for a game like this for E3?
Sure, well, we've got our controls on the game wall when you first come in the room, so you look up and you see it. People jump in, and a lot of times they get 2 or 3 tries because
gamers don't read instructions.
No, they just jump right in, it's true. So we either say, if you're familiar with Souls games, you're going to be familiar with the controls. If you're not, then you're probably going to try to heal yourself and eat one of your consumable food items right off the bat. A lot of people die right away, and we just say jump right back in because we've seen people die in our tutorial enemies. The game is hard. It's meant to be punishing. It's meant to be rewarding repeated playthroughs and really focusing on learning what the enemy's weaknesses are, learning what they can do, and using the things around you to your advantage. So if there's a spike trap in the ground, that'll hurt the enemies too. So you try to draw them across it. If there's 2 enemy factions that like to fight, you want to make sure that you draw them against each other so that you can then pick off the survivors.
And of course, another thing about the game is that it's procedurally generated. So you never quite know what to expect. Next time you play it. This sort of game has sort of become very popular among game developers. What do you think it is that's sort of, why is it that we're getting a lot of these kind of permadeath procedural generation? I don't know whether to call them roguelikes or roguelike-likes or rogue-esques, whatever.
Well, I think that there's definitely a segment of the audience that really wants that challenge, right? There's a lot of hand-holding in modern games. A lot of sort of all the rough edges have been taken off in it. And you kind of react negatively to that in some respects. You want that challenge, you want that sense of accomplishment. You want to know that you're getting better and you can measure that in success and that you're getting deeper and deeper all the time. So I think it's really just about kind of scratching that itch and letting that player kind of find their own skill level without kind of holding their hand too much.
And speaking of procedural, because I feel that the art style is sort of driven by the fact that it is procedural. What came first, really, the art style or because it feels like a good art style for a procedural game because it's sort of geometrically, I don't know what to call it, but if you look at it, you'll know what I mean. But what came first?
Right, it allows us to fit new parts together in a way that maybe other art styles would be a little bit jarring because you kind of accept it at the polygonal level. What really came first was the sense of humor for the game. The whole game is written like a 80s D&D manual, but kind of turned on its head. So if you're familiar with the movie Cabin in the Woods and the way it kind of took horror movie tropes and then kind of like made fun of them, that's what this game's going to do with like 80s D&D. So that type of play style or that type of humor, it didn't really match with like something like a really realistic looking knight in armor, because you'd be that sad if that guy died, because it looks like he has a wife and kids at home that have passed away, you know, and everybody's gonna be sad. But our cartoon characters allow us allow you to get in, and the combat still feels really visceral. You still really feel sweaty palms, but at the same time, when it dies, hopefully you just kind of say, well, there's another guy up at the top of the Necropolis ready to make a run. So.
One thing that is nice is that there is a progression between your failures as well. There are things that you sort of unlock in between them, right?
Yes. So there are codexes that you can grab throughout or that you can unlock persistent currency to get. Once you unlock a codex, it'll be there for you all the time. You can just basically check it out of the library that we call the scriptorium. So when you first are getting them and you maybe buy something that's not that expensive, it might give you like a little bit extra jump. But the more powerful ones will do things like unlock all the recipes in the game. So when you start off the game, you're going to pick up potions, and it's going to say an unidentified potion. You can drink it. It might heal you. It might freeze you in place for 30 seconds. It might mess up your controls, or it might blind you. But if you were able to get a codex that'll allow you to know all the recipes at the start of the game, that's a huge leg up for your next playthrough. And at the top end, you can get a vampirism codex that'll allow you to steal the health of your enemies every time you attack them. So that'll give you a leg up on the next game through. So it's not quite start from zero once you start building up that library of codexes.
Sounds interesting. And that potion thing is interesting, because when I'm faced with something like that, I always feel like it's gonna be poison. It's not going to be anything good. Is that hard-coded into the game, or is it actually random?
It's totally random, and we mix up the icons as well. So you'll pick up a bottle, and it may be the red potion. You drink it this time, it'll heal you. The next time you pick up, if you die, and you come back and you pick up a red potion, that potion may be the one that blinds you, or it may be the one that makes you what we're calling disoriented. So the screen will get wavy, and your controls will mess up, and you will have a little bit of trouble moving around. So. It's completely different each time. So yeah.
So where's the game in development right now? I mean, obviously the deal with consoles and stuff may have sort of delayed it a little bit. I think you even announced that was the case. Where are you at with it, and sort of what's the scope, and when do you hope to be finished?
Well, right now we're just trying to polish it up and fix all the last-minute bugs. So we're actually looking to release on Steam on July 12th. And the Xbox and the PlayStation versions will follow after later this summer. But yeah, we're just madly fixing bugs as much as we can.
Well, I guess you'll get back to that in a couple of days. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.